Genesis chapter 44, and we saw that Joseph had just had a lavish meal with all of his brothers, including Benjamin. And we certainly saw the need for the brothers to be told who Joseph was, but it still hasn't happened. He knew who they were, but they didn't know who he was. And for the second time, he's getting ready to send them back to Jacob. He asks his servants to fill their sacks with as much as they could carry and all of their money. And in Benjamin's sack, Joseph's silver drinking cup. And he lets them get a little ways out of town. And then he sends his servant after them to accuse them of stealing his silver drinking cup. They, of course, deny that they have because they're not aware that they had in their sack. And they said, so just if you find it, kill the one that took it, and the rest of us will be servants. Because we didn't do it. We wouldn't have brought back the money if we were going to do such a thing as that. Nevertheless, they searched the sacks, and lo and behold, in Benjamin's sack is the silver drinking cup. They're taken back to Joseph's house, and Joseph again says, how could you do such an evil thing? And he says, I guess I'll just have to keep Benjamin as my servant. The rest of you can go home to your father. But after a short time, Judah steps up, and he says everything that's happened and how his father, Jacob, would have a terrible, terrible time accepting Benjamin's loss. Because, after all, Rachel had 2 children. One of them had already been devoured by wild beasts, and the other one was now going to become the slave of Joseph. He laid out the whole story in complete detail to Joseph. And Joseph saw the pain of the brothers and of his father. And he finally reveals himself to his brothers. He says, I am the one you sold into slavery. There's a great weeping and crying. But what happens next is quite interesting. In chapter 45, it says, Joseph said to them, God sent me ahead to preserve life for the great deliverance of many. Remember, we talked about typology, and we talked about the fact that there's a lot of parallels between Joseph and Jesus. Well, here's another one. God's amazing grace. Jesus' amazing grace. From the cross, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And because while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. We see this kind of grace issued out by Joseph to his brothers. They deserved whatever they got. But he says to them, do not grieve. Do not be angry at yourselves for what you've done. God sent me for the great deliverance of many. Now, the 3 applications that I can see for this section of Scripture. The first one, of course, is that God's prophecies always come to pass. Those things which he had given to Joseph in a dream continued to play out with them bowing down before him. Secondly, the lineage of the Messiah would be preserved because God had given Joseph the ability to see a 7-year famine. And food would be available for his Hebrew brothers throughout that famine period in preserving the lineage of the Messiah. But most of all, and the one that I hope that you'll reflect on as you watch this video and as you think about its content, God's amazing grace. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Even though we don't deserve heaven, we deserve hell. God's grace, God's riches at Christ's expense, the acrostic that we all should remember. God loved us that much. And that's my thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.